Exactly.
I think we are waiting on one more.
I think we're waiting for a couple more.
Yeah. How's everyone's morning so far?
Good. Thank you.
Is everyone currently in Sacramento?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you guys were
Right.
traveling anywhere or if you were at home in the safety of your office.
Frank,
car.
you look like you're in a car.
I saw someone just came in. They do look like they're in a car.
What, hey, Frank, are you in the back seat of a limo or something?
Don't all PBID execs have drivers?
Yeah, that does.
And there is.
We're waiting for Kendra and Corey, maybe?
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I just
Kendra.
sent Corey a text.
There's Kendra.
So you guys can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Super. Morning, Kendra. How are you?
Good morning, everybody.
Hey,
I'm Jason.
Kendra.
So nice to meet you.
Thought we'd wait for Corey, and then maybe I can kind of give an introduction to what's going on here, and then we can have a demonstration of the product, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
she's
like a plan.
texting me now, so I'll let you know what she said.
It's a warm one here today in Southern California. It's been warm all week though. Yeah. I think it's about 95 degrees today.
Where are you at, Jason?
Our digital showroom is in Ontario, California, so in the Inland Empire, but we have an office in downtown LA. Yeah, it's been pretty warm though all week. We also are looking at offices in Beverly Hills currently as well. Obviously, everything has slowed down our growth progression, if you will.
Sure.
You have an office in Beverly Hills. I'm not sure I can afford to be on this call.
Here's the good news, Bill. This has cost you nothing call.
Yeah.
The best part about it, right?
That's well said, Rob.
As my good friend and Chinese comrade Frank Louis said, wait, free? I'm in. Free?
Free 99? Okay.
Exactly. Corey's trying to log in right now.
All right.
Frank, you said you can't hear us? Or we can't hear him? Or?
Oh, Frank, we can't hear you.
Let's see. There's Corey. Okay.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Okay, so looks like we have everyone present and accounted for.
Is Frank wearing a tank top?
It's hot out there, Rob.
It is hot. Did you just step off the beach?
We've got Bill wearing a suit and Frank's in a tank top. Bill?
There you go.
Well, it looks like you just stepped off the golf course.
It's a sleeveless
He's
shirt.
at the 19th
and
hole right now.
We can make fun of him, and he can't even.
He can't
come back
respond.
because he doesn't have the audio.
So Frank has
he
no
can't
audio?
hear it. He just sent me a text. He cannot hear us.
Frank cannot?
What's the fun of making fun of somebody if they can't hear you?
I always thought, Bill, that was even better.
I was going to say that might be better.
Yeah, Sean and I are on the same page there.
They can hear us.
Yeah. Well, is Corey on or is she getting on?
Corey's on.
She's on.
Okay. So at the, I want to talk to Mike about this, so maybe he can log back in. But let me I know you guys got sort of a semi-cryptic email from Frank, and so I appreciate you liking him enough to make yourselves available this morning. So let me tell you what's going on. So I am helping ClearScan market their product. They make it's a touch-free temperature scanner. And they, as you might imagine, and I'll let Jason talk all about the product, but let me tell you what's going on in terms of the city of Sacramento. So I talked to the mayor about this early on, and he really liked the idea of the product for helping some of our businesses, right, to be safer for the employees, scanning everyone's temperature before they go in. It also has the same function for customers. So, as things have gotten worse, I think the need has gotten greater. It's not a foolproof solution, but it's sort of like belt and suspenders. Not only would you wear a mask to go into your work or your business, but it would scan you without anyone getting near you or touching you, and let you let the business know if someone has an elevated temperature. It's talked to Kendra a little bit yesterday, and it's I'll let Jason explain this, but it's an interesting, great technology, but it's super easy to use. And so I talked to the mayor about this in light of his sort of op-ed about having to how he is having to kind of revisit in his own mind how things are happening in the city with respect to just with all the police arrests and everything. And he said, you know what, it would be great. I would like to do something and have the city buy a bunch of these, but I would love to be able to get them to the businesses that, in his mind, are most in need, kind of in our most challenging business corridors. And so he asked me to reach out to Frank. Frank reached out to all of you. And so really the idea is, wanted to let you get a first-hand look from the manufacturer to see what it looks like, how it works. This is kind of the best we can do in the age of Zoom meetings. And if you guys think this is something your constituents could use, I would help put together a proposal to the city. He wants it by Friday, which is why we're hurrying. And he said doesn't want to publicize this, but he has some money left to spend. And basically, we would put together a proposal, have the city buy these things in bulk, and then have you distribute them to your businesses kind of as you see fit, whether it's a nail salon, a restaurant, an insurance agency, anything that you guys preside over that either has employees or customers, which is a business, right? So anyway, that's kind of the short story. And I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions about, the proposal and things like that. But since we've got Jason on the line, and thank you, Jason, for making yourselves available.
Absolutely.
So that's Jason down there. Wave, Jason. And then we've got Bill, who's our distinguished gentleman in the suit. We've got Sean and Rave and Kendra and Frank, and then we've got Corey. So these folks are executive directors of some property business improvement districts here in the city of Sacramento, and they happen to represent areas that, I think, sort of is the heart of small business in the city of Sacramento. It's outside the downtown core, and sometimes, we tend to sort of concentrate when we talk about business on the core and on downtown. I think we've done a great job of doing all that. But I don't think it's an understatement to say that we could always be spending more time, attention, and resources in our sort of more aging or remote corridors, because frankly, huge employment centers, people don't realize also kind of the revenue your corridors generate for the city, and I want to make sure that at least on something like this, that you would get first fruits. So anyway, that's kind of the introduction, and Jason, I'll let you take it away, and we can answer questions after the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob, so much. And thank you all for joining me this morning. Obviously, we are all trying to get all of our businesses back open. So first and foremost, as I dug into all of your districts, I really love the fact that you guys have very like-minded goals for each of these businesses. And for a visual aid, I busted out my crayons. So all these businesses before, and I think that Rob, you kind of touched into this. These are not rich businesses. They flow from month to month. They're not opening restaurants to become millionaires. They're their own business owners so that they can survive. So this constant line, that's the expenses, and the variable up here is your income. Of course, we all know what happened when COVID came. Income sank. Some of the expenses were decreased because of grants and some allowable things to be taken care of by the state, but those increases on the expenses are now coming up. But the income is not, right? And that's the big problem, because as small business owners, let me step back here so you guys can hear me. As small business owners, they don't have the luxury, like a lot of larger chains, to live, work, and play in their own environments. Everyone is so cooped up right now. They want to get back to playing, right? They're living in their communities, they're working in their communities, but their communities aren't open. So they're having to go spend their money, their hard-earned money, elsewhere outside of their districts because they cannot afford to implement some of these devices. And in some of the instances in which they are able to buy the handheld devices, they're usually cheap and they're unreliable. They have a high error rate. And now we're obviously seeing an increase because of the unreliability of this first detection upon entry of our business, which leads to, obviously, we're encroaching on a second shutdown, which is terrifying for so many of these small businesses, because a lot of them barely even escaped their first round, right? So now the result is, like I said, they're going outside of their communities and spending their hard-earned money, and with the hopes of your guys' help today, and I don't know about you guys, but I've heard stories of people driving 2 hours just to go have lunch somewhere, which is absolutely crazy. We want these people to live, work, and play in their communities. And I really think that ClearScan is the solution for that. And like I said, I love what PBIDs is doing for the communities to really keep that hard-earned money there. So with that being said, I'm going to scoot you guys a little bit closer here so that you can see what we're working with. Okay. So I want to talk about the bread and butter of this product first. And that is the sensor that's on top. It's a German-made sensor from a brand called Heimann, H-E-I-M-A-N-N. It's like the Maybach of sensors. It is the absolute best. Has the least variance at a 0.2 degrees centigrade variance. I've seen some of our competitors and copycats out there up to a 0.9, which is really disturbing. I was a college athlete my entire life, an athlete my entire life, and I know the difference between 0.9 in the body is whether you're playing that day or whether you're not. And I've spoken to many NCAA people. I went to the University of Kansas Big 12, and they're saying, wow, I would definitely not allow a device with a 0.9 variance in our facilities. So 0.2, it comes with a 3-year calibration. That being said though, we provide all of the updates for this device, free of charge. As they come to us, we provide them to you. And every time that there's an update, it calibrates itself. Therefore, it does not need to be calibrated. That is how smart it is. We've married it with the biometric reader. So this biometric reader has 2 HD binocular wide-angle cameras, which detects 99.8% accuracy, all of your employees, staff, anyone that you put into the system, and up to 40,000 of those employees and associates. And unless you're Facebook, you probably don't have 40,000 employees that you need to put into these devices. Now, when we talk about guests, because there's obviously a lot of privacy questions that you're all thinking right now. Where's this data held? Where does it go to? Each device, it's currently in offline mode, holds the data on an Android encrypted hard drive. It comes that way by default. So that's the first layer of security. The second layer of security is that you need a password, just like your phone, just like a computer, to get into to access that data. And that lives, like I said, on the encrypted Android hard drive. So it comes in a couple. You can change the parameters on it, whether it's face mask on, face mask off, stranger mode on or off. And what I mean by that is, if you are just wanting to use this for your employee entrance and you know that customers are not going to be going into these areas, you would want stranger mode off because you would want just employee access. For example, the New Orleans Saints are one of our clients, right, Rob? If I'm, gosh, the name escapes me, Sean Payton, and I'm going into the executive offices, I'm obviously going to be allowed in. But if I'm Jason Hamilton, Joe Schmo out here in California and I'm trying to walk into Mercedes Stadium, obviously I'm not going to be allowed in. So that's that layer of security there. You can have stranger mode record off or on. So if you have that off or on, you'll see the data. You'll be able to see that the person passed to be able to entry, but it will not record that data if you have stranger record off, which is really important because that data then is not saved for any patrons going into nail salons, restaurants, hotels. It merely provides that first layer of defense of coming in. Do you have a mask on? And do you have a normal temperature? And what is a normal temperature? The CDC and the WHO said 38 degrees centigrade, which is 100.4. And that's also what the NCAA is currently working on. And that's also what the NFL and the NBA are working on. So I want to demonstrate. So these are our ClearScan access gates, and these can be connected to any sort of point of entry, any relay, whether it be these gates here, a deadlocked door, an employee entrance, for metro systems, to swing into, to allow them to open. So many different data ports of entry here. So I'm going to show you guys as I put on my mask. I'll do it without a mask first so you can see, because currently it's set so that we need a mask on that.
Please get close for taking temperature.
So
Normal temperature.
I have a 97.3, which is normal, even in this hot day in this warehouse. But I'm going to put my mask on here, and you'll see it allow me entry.
Please get close for taking temperature. Normal temperature.
So do you guys want me to scoot that a little bit closer so you guys can see that again? How it allowed me in?
Jason, I think probably it would be a very rare thing that we would have businesses that had entry gates like that.
I agree.
I think we're mostly dealing with, frankly, stranger mode, like to give customers confidence that the business they're going into is taking, a lot of precautions to safeguard, their health. And then also, I think we have some businesses that will be very interested also in making sure that their employees themselves are symptom-free.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about, so I'm glad that you mentioned on the employee side of it, because a lot of times if an employee comes in and they do have a temperature and they're sent home, I know in the state of California, our HR regulations are pretty strict, so what sort of evidence or how are we justifying sending them home in these instances? And you can export that data and say, hey, on July 8th at 11 o'clock, Jason came in, he had 101.2 degree temperature. So if we need to provide that data, it's right here. We can export it to an Excel spreadsheet and provide that to any, any relief type funding for unemployment or anything like that, should that be necessary. So that level of data is available on the devices, and it lives there if we need that. Yeah.
So I did have a quick question, Jason.
Yeah.
Jason. So for example, on Franklin Boulevard, which is where PBID is, we have a lot of businesses that have been there for 50, 60 years, and technology is definitely not one of their strong suits. Okay.
Right.
So if you could talk a little bit about, if this is something that just needs to be plugged in, and what's the usability like? What is the ease of use? I think that's going to be really important to these aging quarters as we try to implement some of this into our businesses. And also, again, if they need access to Wi-Fi, which I believe they do not, if it just needs to be plugged in, I think it only needs access to Wi-Fi if they were trying to collect data, which I know that some of my business might not need to do that or want to do that, again, for just the overall usability. So if you can talk about that.
Yeah, great question. So it is absolutely plug and play. We set the default settings to 38 degrees centigrade. We set the default settings to mask on, and we can set them to whether the stranger mode record is on or stranger access is on or off. It is plug and play. Within 40 seconds, it is ready to rock and roll. You do not need to name it. You can actually name the device and it can say what your company's name is, but you don't have to. It still functions as a first line of defense, ready to plug and play within 40 seconds. with a DC-12 adapter, all included in the box, ready to go. It does have Wi-Fi capabilities. It does have Bluetooth for those businesses that are more interested in gaining a next level of data from those occurrences. But much like many of the small businesses in many of our communities, they just don't have that need. So it will function 100% as a biometric reader, zero contact, simply plug and play within 40 seconds. No Wi-Fi needed, no Bluetooth needed, just a power outlet. As simple as that.
Do you have to put your face in it like you did? You have to go like that?
It's up to 3 feet. Up to 3 feet. So I'm right here,
Please get gloves for taking temperature.
and I'm about 3 feet away, 97.5. You know, I was
Wear a mask.
3 feet away from it. Yeah.
You're warming up a little bit.
Yeah. 0.2
Sure, I
degrees
think
warmer.
also it comes with adjustable height, so you kind of have to set it at a height that, you know, so like it won't
Correct.
like some people won't be too short for it.
Yeah, so it has a 32-degree variable arm gate on it. So I'm going to swing this around. Actually, here, I'll bring this guy over here.
So that's actually what I wanted to show them. It comes with that stand and the unit, and that's kind of the size of it and everything, and the stand is adjustable.
Yeah, so the stand on this is 46 inches, and that can really, honestly, that can be adjustable. We manufacture everything here. I should say that we manufacture everything in this room. I'm going to spin you guys around the room real quick. Everything that you guys see, yes, that is an Optimus Prime with a clear scan unit inside of it. Clear scan unit inside of Optimus Prime. Rob, have I shared with you that video yet?
No.
It's pretty awesome. I'm going to share it with you after we're done. But yeah, we manufacture everything. This is a bridge that you can actually walk on. So we manufacture all of the stands. We customize them for whomever client it is. Whether it have an LED light, or this one is actually a vinyl wrap that we have on here with this guy here.
I think the city would be ordering us the vanilla.
The vanilla?
You know,
Yeah.
uncustomized, but
Sure.
it works.
Yeah, we have black carbon fiber, silver carbon fiber, or we have it in vanilla.
Except for you, Sean.
Or we can get it in Neapolitan if you want. But a simple adjustment of this turn knob here can adjust it like this. It's about 32 degrees up and down, depending on the height of whomever. Yeah. But if there are certain instances in which we would need to require an ADA entrance, we have those concept stands available as well.
What happens when the temperature is too high?
There's a couple different options. So just like it scanned and it came out green, yeah, an electric shock through an embedded chip in your arm. We're not there yet. We're not quite Minority Report. So it does show red. It does, you do have the option of a audible, in which you can make at a volume 100, or it's a sliding scale on how loud you want that audible to read. It is really dependent on the business. You can turn that off or on. Very simple within the options that are the settings that are within there, or you can actually even customize what that sound looks like if you take it a step further and want to integrate it into a cloud type setting. Yeah.
So the screen turns red. Does it say anything if you fail, if your temperature's too high?
Yeah. Just want to grab me a hot water, maybe. Yeah, I can actually show you guys what that looks like. I'll get a hot mug of water. So I'm not sweating quite enough to be 100 degrees yet.
Coach Rooney's like, then you need to work harder.
Yeah, see, I'm still at a 97.3, which actually I really like that it's really hot in here today. There's no air conditioning in our 8,000 square foot warehouse. There is in my office right over there. But even as hot as it is right now, and I have like a little sweat on my forehead, because of the accuracy of this camera, it takes all that into consideration. And it has an oval, and it scans all those data points on my forehead, and it takes the most accurate point of that, even if I'm coming from the outside and I'm sweating. Because one of the concerns with some of our partners with sports was These guys are going in and out of facilities. It's hot, it's humid. How is it not going to have them be at 105 degrees? Yeah.
Stick close for taking temperature. Normal temperature. Normal temperature.
Might need my copy, guys. This has like a
Temperature.
this has a shield around it so I don't burn my.
Please get close for taking temperature. Normal temperature.
Maybe if you could throw the hot water
Normal
on
temperature.
I could do that.
to see it's waterproof.
Yeah, so it is water resistant and dust proof. Of course, you wouldn't want to leave it in the elements. You don't want to leave it in the sun because the direct sunlight could potentially damage the sensor on it.
Hey Jason, would you mind talking to them about the FDA certification, how it's the only unit on the market that's gotten FDA certification, and then also
Yeah.
warranty and tech support?
Yes, absolutely. So in regards to the FDA, it's an FDA listed device. We are the manufacturer. If you do find any other copycats or any other devices out there that are like this on the market, they are not the manufacturer. We are the manufacturer. We are factory direct. And what does that result in? Our competitors or people out there, they'll be listed as the repackager or the relabeler. So all liability that they have coming from their devices is gone. We provide all the customer service, a 1-year warranty, basic bumper to bumper, if you will, for the lay term. Because this is deemed as a class 1 medical device, the 501k under the COVID response, and I can share that link with you guys after the call. It is deemed a medical device once it goes out into the field, right? So if anything were to ever go wrong with this, we wouldn't just replace the sensor on top. We wouldn't just replace this. We replace the whole thing because it would have to go through a very intense reconditioning process for us to say, yes, this device that has been in the field is safe to send back out. We would never provide you with a refurbished device should anything ever go wrong with this. I can say with 100% certainty, we've had this device for about 20 weeks now. We are running them nonstop. We're putting them in indirect sunlight. We're having them in a hot warehouse, really just testing the heck out of them. We have not seen any issues. Plus, we continue to get updates that make it faster and more accurate. When we first got this device, we listed it at, it can detect you in under 7 seconds. We have a client down in Mexico that needs to get 1,400 employees into their warehouse in 10 minutes during their shift change. And they're like, 7 seconds isn't gonna work. We got these devices down to 2.3 per scan. Thank you, sir. It's really hot. 2.3 seconds, and now they're able to get all their employees in and out. Like I said, 1,400 in under 10 minutes for their shift change, and they have more than a handful to do that. I've got a really hot cup of water here, so I'm going to try and move this area out.
Please get close for taking temperature.
Abnormal
Abnormal temperature.
temperature, 131.7. We do not have the audible on right now, but I can tell you it's like a fire alarm. It's like a huh? No, that's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna set this
Yeah, I
up.
was gonna ask because, if this device, my thought process, and Jason, I don't know if you're still there.
I was setting down that very hot cup of water.
Far away from you, hopefully.
It's on fire.
So, just for operability is like, some of these businesses who might be using them are, wanting to make sure that they don't have to be standing by the unit. If we put this in a high volume restaurant, well, not as high volume as it maybe once was, but if it's a restaurant, do they have to have someone, kind of standing by to make sure, or if it's, like just thinking about other industries and sectors that might use them, like grocery stores and whatnot, is this something that would be practical, and it would be loud enough for someone to hear, but maybe not loud enough to scare people,
Yeah.
or, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think about userability and practicality when it comes to some of these businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is loud enough to hear. That is for sure, and it will scare you if you're not ready for it. That's why the temperature volume is a 0 to 100. You can really cater it to your individual environment. And a Friday night is way different than a Tuesday morning. You know, in a lot of these restaurants. And Friday night, maybe it turns into a lounge in the evenings, and it's, you know, a cafe in the daytime where people are studying. You know, that is why there's so many settings and variability on these devices to really cater it for all of those individual needs. Yeah.
And then I think Rob also asked about tech support.
Yeah. So we are also the tech support. All of that is within us, with our team here. We provide all that. You're not going to call us and we're not going to transfer you somewhere else. So we are the product experts on this, and we provide all the customer service tech support as well, because we've had these in our hands. We live, breathe, and smell these every single day.
I have, another thing about the tech support is, like, do you guys have, so for instance, if somebody did want to set it up to a cloud and use the Wi-Fi settings and collect some data, at least for their employees per se, do you have trainings to help with the settings? Do you have webinars? Do you have online videos on your website? How does that work?
Yes, we've shot many how-to videos. We have a very in-depth manual that walks people through that. And if in the instance that does not work, we have multiple videos, and we're always available to assist in setting that up. And we've done that numerous times. As most people have gone, or not most, but some people, if they have multiple locations, they would like to remotely monitor this, because it's a really user-centric dashboard where you can view it in real time and monitor it. Plus, you can also set it when you have it in the cloud version. And this, keep in mind, the cloud version only works if the business has a cloud setup. We provide the software for them. They have to have an existing cloud. I did want to make that point. To where they can get an email in real time. Say Jason Hamilton just walked in. It's 10:35. He still walked into work, but I got an email. What is he still doing there? Our SOPs say he needs to follow steps 1, 2, and 3 at this point.
And also for people who might be worried about, sort of confidentiality if they're keeping the information around their employees, because of the encryptions and the passwords and things like that, it's on an Android platform. This device has been deemed HIPAA compliant as well.
That's correct. Yes, great point, Rob. We have sold to many hospitals, and that is definitely something that they're in need of.
I'm glitching a little bit over here. It's probably my service, so I apologize if something gets cut off here.
That's okay.
What do you think, kind of the over? I think you're a little bit, in my opinion, ahead of the curve in terms of Sacramento. I don't see a lot of this going on yet. I'm not to say that we won't. I mean, probably where you are, the rest of the world sometimes is light years ahead of us on these types of things.
Right.
So it's good that you're at least sharing that. What do you think the over-under is? And this may be more of a question for us internally or with PBID directors, in terms of how many customers should you have to be looking at something like this? Or, I got a couple establishments that probably have 12 customers a day.
Right.
So,
I think that, and I don't know if any of you guys have had people that get COVID or fall to this illness, but I think it only takes one. I think that one is the big number. If you see the results of one customer, and maybe this is one of 12 that comes in every day, and you find out, wow, they're sick, and it could have been because of their entry into my establishment, and that's someone that I see on a daily basis, I think that really that's the magic number here. As many lives and as many people as you can make feel safe coming into your establishment, I think it all starts with one. And I know that is, maybe that's a little dreamerish. Us in LA, we're all dreamers. But I think that every single person that you feel and make a safe environment for, that they have a safe haven and they can return to some sort of normalcy. I think that's the struggle with everyone right now, is everything feels so out of whack. They're trying to feel normal again. Everyone that you can feel normal again, is a win, and I think it starts with each and every single person.
The other thing, Sean, is, and this is what I was talking to the mayor about and why he liked it for specifically your guys' areas, is it's a chance to kind of like, in this very uncertain economy where, you know, every day we're wondering if more is going to be taken away again because the numbers are spiking. One, we're in this for a while. It's not, you know, a summer vacation thing and then we're fine. Just to be able to brand the businesses and your PBIDs as being like at the forefront of sort of customer and employee safety is, I think, a really cool thing. You know, it's like, not only are we still open for business, you know, we've got belt and suspenders for you, right? I mean, because of the enormous furniture purchases the Fongs have been making in the last 2 years, I get these weird alerts from Restoration Hardware, which is frightening to me. So how I find out what's going on in the rest of my house. And went on their website because they said, you know, we're back open for business, see what we're doing to take care of you. And they're doing all the things that everyone says they're doing. We're cleaning things down all the time. We're wearing masks. But the thing that really struck me before I ever met these guys was, and we're checking everyone's temperature, whether they're an employee or a customer, before they walk in our store. And if you look at the governor's orders, and I know they keep changing, but one of the things he's requesting for people to go back to work is that employees, you know, that there be a symptom check. And right now, when I talked to Dr. Bielenson, I said, what's the county doing about that? He says, well, we're asking employers just to ask the question, do you feel okay today? This is so much better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that it's a situation where might not be a perfect fit for all of your businesses. We frankly couldn't get enough for all of your businesses anyway. But I think that for a bunch of your businesses, one, it would be a really nice thing to be able to do for them, right, to offer for them. It's really easy to use, and I don't think people would be put off by it. I think people will feel, you know, kind of a heightened sense of comfort to either go to work and or to patronize that business. Even if it's to walk in to get to-go stuff, even if it's dealing with delivery drivers who are interacting with your customers or your employees. And so, you know, I just think it's, you know, kind of a cool thing if the city's willing to buy a bunch of these and allow you guys to sort of give them to your constituents. I'm not sure there's a downside.
I may get kicked off here, so if it does, then let's just rejoin, because it says less than a minute. So I do apologize about that. Yeah, I think that that's a really good point too. To be able to brand it as the Oak Park District or you know, any of the guys' districts, to show that you guys are caring about the community and you're maybe taking some of those instances in which they are not as advanced and you're providing that for them. I think that it would definitely go a long way.
Plus, you guys represent parts of town where, you know, kind of the numbers show, you know, the populations that are most at risk of getting it, right? So it's even better that way. So
Yeah, and I think one of the arguments is, well, not everyone's going to have a temperature, and I think that, you know, I always make the term of don't major in the minors. I think that between 85 and 92% of people that do have COVID display a temperature at one point or another. So to hit it out, to hit a large group of people like that and say, I know it's not 100%, but let's really focus on a large majority of those. Yes, sir. I knew it might do that.
you have to feed the meter.
I had to feed the meter, yeah. So I'll pop back in and Bill.
I know Bill had a question.
Ooh. I saw him, Bill raising his hand as we were cut off there.
had to pay a Zoom bill.
Yeah, just hop back in
Well,
here.
while Arvin's pointing, and maybe you mentioned this already, and sorry if I missed it. Is there support for other languages, or does it come? We've got a large Hmong and Spanish population up here.
Yeah, absolutely. It supports, I think, 17 or 18 audible languages and over about 90 languages where it can display without auditory. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So,
Great question. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
so quick question. I think as far as the science goes, I don't think there's anybody on this call that would say this is not, really something that's state of the art.
Right.
I think the question always goes to implementation, and I think that a couple of questions that I have. How many are we thinking, Rob, say per district, if, just to get an idea, because if I have 5, that's different, that's a difference, than 15 in our, so how many were we thinking per district? And then the second part of my question is, and I know the answer before I ask it, I have, both Corey and I have county in our districts, carved out, as you all know, Rob, carved out in funny ways, and I have businesses that I can think of offhand, and I know Corey as well, that would certainly benefit from this that are on the county side. So I would imagine this is a city limit.
Well, no, actually, so let me answer those. Those are really good questions. So there are 6 PBIDs that were represented on this call. I don't know what the average number of, viable businesses you all have, but I assume it's more than 5, right, to exist. What I was thinking, because it's a round number, is 100 for each PBID, 100 units. If you only use 80, you guys can mix and match if someone has a greater need, right? And I would absolutely tell you, Bill, with confidence as someone who no longer votes on anything in the city, that I think that because you are a PBID that is in the city, that you would be able to use them for anyone in your PBID. Because let's think about this for a second. The people who are being protected live in our city. The people who go to work there live in our city too. And so it isn't just about tax base. It's really about, and Sean asked a really interesting question. It's like, are we too far ahead of the curve? I would love for us to be ahead of the curve, right? We're the state capital.
Yeah.
And for once, have your, businesses be the first on their block to have this, to kind of show people that you don't just go downtown. I mean, there's lots of places where, like Jason was saying, you can stay in your own neighborhood, go to work, shop, and you can have something that no one else has, which, when's the last time we got to say that about, these neighborhoods, right? So that's why I like this, you know what I mean? It just, it's like, so that's what the thinking is.
And I think it's a good idea. Again, implementation being always the devil in the details, making sure that the business owner is comfortable. As you know, we have a lot of immigrant business owners, and they are not trustful of government and any sort of what they would consider an intrusion. So I think that us selling this in a positive light is going to be crucial for all of us in our districts.
100%.
And the liability, how we, again, how do we have, we have one of our businesses is ShopSmart. It's a refurbished Sam's Club, and it comes to mind. And you have traffic just, continuing. So, they have people handing out masks, and this might be part of that, that process.
Yeah, especially if they have someone at the entrance, right?
Right.
It's so easy then.
Right. And then do you deny entrance? Again, I'm just playing the tape to the end. In some of these tougher spots, do you then say, sir, you can't come in here? So I think that's part of the conversation we need to have as well.
Yeah, I think that is the whole point of it, is like, we don't actually want people with elevated temperatures to go into this business with an elevated temperature. And I get that. Like, I'm dealing with Sac City Unified right now, because as you might imagine, they're desperately trying to figure out how to keep their teachers safe, how to keep their students safe. They love this idea. Frankly, for them too, it might take attendance with the facial recognition. But the point is I think people who are making these decisions would rather be safe than sorry, right? It's like, you know what? I know you're wearing a mask and you think you just have a common flu, but this is not something to fool around with, right? It's just not, and you can see the numbers. I mean, it's only going to get worse, and frankly, I think the way to really talk about this is not like, gee, what would happen if someone is denied entrance? It's like, this is a great way to try and stay open through all this difficulty, right? And to also give your customers an added layer of comfort and security, like they can actually go in here. It's, I went to Costco the other day for the first time, and it was pretty good. I was wearing a mask, but what did scare me is they're not actually wiping down the hands. They're just not, and you can't go to Costco without a giant basket, or it's just like a massive piece, right? It's like you only go to Costco to buy massive quantities of things you will throw away later. So, except for the toilet paper, and so I think it's. I hear you. But I think we're like fishing with a bigger net here now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Question for the room. Do you guys have any town hall meetings, virtual ones coming up to where you can discuss this with some of those key leaders amongst your business districts? I guess where I'm going with this is, in discussing what could happen, a second shutdown, and presenting a solution, kind of feeling out the climate of the room with those individuals, saying, we've tried handheld thermometers, we've tried, implementing masks. This is a better solution for us, and kind of gauge what their reception is on that.
I think from our side, as PBID folks, we certainly understand that people are busy, and getting people to go to a meeting is always difficult. I think doing just that outreach, just out in the district, having those conversations with some folks that we think might be that first line, whether it's the Costco's, the grocery stores, and then work from there. So I think for our district, I think that's how we would probably see that.
Right.
Corey has that same kind of structure of bigger businesses, small, medium, and small.
Sure.
So again, Rob, I certainly wasn't trying to find the negative in
No. I
think just as we talk through this,
yeah.
we have one of our businesses who was asking people to put masks on, and when they say we'll fly a kite, not putting this mask on, then we said, okay, sir, have a good day.
Yeah. So I think we've all seen those videos on YouTube.
For me, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think that
And my feeling is, so maybe the downside is your business owner tries it and it's not for them. Just tell them to give it back to you. We can give it to someone else. At some point we're going to need these in our libraries, our public buildings, and to Sean's point, we are ahead of the curve. There was a news clip on ABC about a week and a half ago talking about this product coming to Sacramento. So you would be literally the first kids on your block with it, right? I mean, they've proliferated very well down in Southern California. We've got other teams who have sort of penetrated, like the NFL and the NBA. Some of the universities were trying to figure out how they're going to, Sean and everyone, sports is a big deal for colleges. And so but then when Jason was talking about the Saints, they bought the first units just because of their executive teams, right? Scouts, executives, and then they share campus with the New Orleans Pelicans because it's the same ownership group, and they're going back and forth. But they're trying to figure out, when we're no longer having only sports at Disney World, what does that look like? And so, so this would be, a very cool thing to be able to roll out at your PBIDs, frankly.
Yeah, and not only just from a very good-looking machine, very effective. You know, from the quality of the build, the sensor, I mean, is absolutely the very best on the market. I can't, you know, just to touch again on the FDA, the FDA registration. That's, you know, just kind of goes to show just the seriousness of these kind of devices and the need for them. I don't think that that's a question.
Yeah. So, and before you got back on, Sean, Bill asked, like, how many units were we thinking about ordering, you know, in this proposal? And I was thinking, because there are 6 PBIDs, we would ask for 100 for each PBID, knowing that you have way more businesses than that. But I think that would be a nice inroad.
No,
What's that?
we don't. I mean, I've got like 40-something businesses. And you know, the other little nuance here, it's just
Yeah.
a small one, is that we're actually property owner associations and
Yeah.
not probably true like a chamber of commerce where you're really interacting with all business owners. So
Mm-hmm.
a little bit different, connected but different.
Yeah. No, I understand.
So,
So
is it an all or
so
none kind
maybe
of situation
then
in
I
that?
would just trim that number down to, let's just order 500 altogether and figure out like how many each PBID would want out of that number, or but you tell me.
Well, and we have some, you know, I've already fired up a couple of texts to ask some questions of some of our bigger folks. You know, we also do have a couple of establishments in the district that are very big, like University Pacific and others, but I kind of don't know how they fit into our discussion. So, you know, their needs could potentially be huge. I mean,
Yeah, they
could
might need 15 of them, right?
Yeah.
Given all the buildings there. But the point is that you're going to have some big businesses. Some of you have small business like nail salons or hair salons, or you know, cafes, or a bookstore, or an insurance agency, or a tax preparation place, or a you know, a wireless store or something. But you know, everyone has employees, and everyone, you know, and lots of people have customers, right? And so you know, and again, when you start to read all the stories, it is our minority communities, our poor minority communities, that are really the bulk of the new cases, right? The people who can't work from home, the people who have to go to work every day and don't necessarily have the sophisticated sort of work environment that others might like if you're working for a state agency or something.
Yeah. And because they can't afford to, like my crayon drawing earlier.
So, yeah.
I have just a couple more questions.
Yep.
Again, I think this is a good idea. You know, I do think that the businesses is that first line to our property owners, so there is that connection, as Sean said. You know, we might be once removed, but you know, if you want to get to the heart of the property owner, have full occupancy and have happy businesses, and you know, everybody's happy. So which we all know. So I would ask the question, because we're involved in all the conversations with the city as well, cost per unit, because again, we want to be good stewards of dollars that there's only a finite amount of dollars for different things that we're looking to do in the city. And so, you know, it's easy to say yes when it's somebody else's money.
No, I appreciate that. And I was going to cover that. I appreciate you asking it, Bill. So, if your businesses just were to contact the company through the website, one unit costs $2,350. But I've worked out a deal with Jason and his partners where if that we can get a kind of bulk rate, public entity rate. So on this proposal, they would be charging us $1,800 per unit. So a pretty big discount off the retail. And the only thing is that does not include shipping and handling. You guys ship through FedEx?
Well, we can ship either. We have UPS account, we
Yeah.
have FedEx, yeah.
And so, but the real magic is like getting an order in to get in line, because there's a pretty big demand on these things, if that makes sense to you.
Correct.
But that's the pricing, and I've talked about that with the mayor, and he was like really into the discount.
Did you guys talk about liability? Are there anyone addressed any issues of liability and you don't do a proper scan or fails or is there anything that the businesses might be concerned about with respect to that, Rob?
You know what, Bill did mention it in this way. He said, what happens if it says Sean can't come in and Sean gets mad? Right? I mean, I don't know if that's a liability, like a legal liability, but it is, I think it's definitely, an issue. It's like, hey, it says you have a fever, you can't come in.
I think it's a
from
discussion.
legal standpoint, I guess you're saying what happens if someone says, I challenge the accuracy of your device and I'm not sick?
Or if the device is off and it's just registered
Like
as
it's just
something
does
very low
everyone
grade.
fine or everyone's not fine?
Yeah.
Or how about me? I'm over 40 and I'm having a hot flash. Thanks. Don't deny me my grocery shopping.
I wonder if it really takes into account that, actually.
Jason, is there a hot flash setting or?
Yeah, I think it's on the new update. No, but there is.
Thanks, Corey.
Good point.
Hey,
That's the
that's
first
the
time
reality
I've heard that
I
one. But it does. The body is a well-regulated machine. Kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier. If you're outside running around, your body's not going to go above 101 degrees. That's just not going to happen. It regulates by sweating, and that sweating is cool. Even if I'm sweating on a hot day, like it is outside right now, it will still, it might take 20 seconds of me just sitting here, but it'll come back down to where it has a normal temperature. It will not stay above, an elevated abnormal temperature, even on a hot day or a hot flash.
Hey, Rob.
Good question.
Are you going to contact everyone individually just to kind of talk numbers? And
Sure.
how it handles? I mean, they practically made us sign our lives away for PPEs. So I can't imagine what they're going to do for scanners and everything else if it's tied in through the city process.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think that actually echoes my biggest fear as I'm sitting here listening. The things that I'm hearing, it's all great, by the way, great product, love it. Implementation, as Bill says, double in the details. There's all of that portion of it. But I definitely am concerned with, if we sign for these, city buys them, we sign for them, I drop it off at Sunshine Nail Supply, and are we on the hook now for, $1,800 if it gets lost? Because, I can just see it just going south really quickly. So
No.
curious on that, and I know that's an implementation thing, so I apologize, Jason, that wouldn't be, you just get them to us and we handle the rest. But Rob, I guess that's more for you.
Yeah, again, great question. No, what the proposal would be is the city buys them to give them to you. So you can give them to your constituents.
So the constituents would then own the product, Rob,
Yep,
at the end of the day?
yep, unless they don't want it and they want to give it back.
No, but I'm saying it would be there.
Right, this is not, you guys are literally like, in this version, you're like the Santa and they're the kids. And the city would be like the actual parents who are buying the presents.
Understood.
So I have another question, Jason, you might be able to answer this. I have a couple of, there's a couple of people I could think who could use this in my district, like La Familia Counseling Center. They offer a ton of services, especially to the Latino community. They also have a COVID-19 testing site on one of their properties. They own a couple of properties in our district. They're a counseling center, but again, this would be really great for them. And because they've got so many different programs, so many different people coming in. Just curious though, if they take ownership and let's say they had one for each location, right? Again, I know there's HIPAA compliance here, but I also have like a very small community health center in our district, and actually two of them. And just thinking about if those are like community health clinics, would there be any liability, any issues, or anything that they would have to deal with if they took one of these for their employees and their patients? Like, is there any medical, I don't know how to structure this question.
think I know where you're
because
going
I don't
with
work in
it,
the medical field, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is not a diagnosis tool, right? It's a first line of defense that identifies someone with an abnormal temperature and whether they're wearing a mask or they aren't. Individual SOPs, standard operating procedures, will need to be implemented in the instances like we kind of discussed earlier. What happens if I do walk in and I have a temperature? What does that look like? And I think that will weigh heavily on your individual districts and even some of those businesses, what that looks like. I would rely on what are they doing now? What does happen at Costco when someone comes in and they don't want to wear a mask? Because that is mandated, right? This kind of just follows suit with them. There would need to be an SOP that says, if I come in, there needs to be a secondary, you could wait 2 minutes or whatever it is and then rescan. Maybe that's what works best for one district. If that doesn't work in another district, there's gonna be one-offs like that, but it would just flow in line with that. With HIPAA compliancy, this would also flow in line with that. So any location that requires to be HIPAA compliant, this would flow in line with any other standing operating procedure that they have that needs to be HIPAA compliant. From any type of temperature reading or a simple filing of patient information, they all need to be HIPAA compliant in how they deal with that data. And how that deals with that data is that it is an Android encrypted device. Someone froze. Can you guys still hear me okay? Okay. That it's it's an Android encrypted hard drive with the second layer of the password that needs to be on there. And they are local. So if you do not have it on a Wi-Fi, if you do not have it Bluetooth, then you would not need to worry about anything up in the cloud. If businesses do decide, hey, I do need this on a cloud because I do want to have access to that data, whatever cloud service they have then has a much thicker layer of security built in, that whether it's a VPN, intranets, any of those type of things already in place. Again, this would just be another device to add into it to be in compliances with that. Yeah, good question.
I would also think that when we kind of come to grips with how many units you think you might need for your constituency, Kendra brought up, and I think Sean brought up some good points, which is some facilities probably need more than one, just based on how they're set up, what their entrance is like, is there employee entrance? The other thing too is, I can imagine, so we have one chance to ask for the money, so it's like a moment in time. And he said, get it to me on Friday or by Friday of this week. But the other thing is I don't think it's hard to imagine that whatever the rules of shelter in place, open, not open, they're continuing to evolve, right? Or devolve. And so I think there'll be different waves of this. And I think that, there'll be really, I think, all our first adopters who are like, yes, I want this, but I think there'll be a second wave of need, if that makes sense, or demand.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a good, I don't know that we've had any in our district. I have not heard of any yet, but I know that there's some areas of the city that have had some businesses that have had to close down because of, either an employee or someone got COVID-19, and so they had to shut down and do the 14 days, which again, they had probably only been open for a very short amount of time prior to that. So they would also be good candidates. So those are things to think about too, is this is another layer of, okay, if or when they open back up after that 2-week period, 14-day period, hey, we put in place another measure that will make both their employees and the public feel a little bit safer about patronizing their.
Yeah, Kendra, awesome point. And I would even go as farther, in those instances, when you go back to those businesses, find out what methods they were using. And I would go as far to say they're probably using the handheld, more cheap, less reliable, higher degree variants. Yeah, and that's exactly what I discussed earlier, is that's kind of what's led back into this, okay, let's go. Okay, but I can't afford to do this because I don't have the money, because I didn't have my business open for 3 months, but yet my expenses, so I gotta, get back in it. So let's go. And then that's where some of these errors come into play. Someone gets sick, now they're required to shut down for 14 days, and then they're in this slump again. But the expenses are still there. So if these devices would slide in there, they have a higher degree of accuracy, more reliable, something that we can implement into these districts, then it would be more consistent. And that's really what we need here, a consistency from business to business to business, instead of all these inconsistencies that are creating fear and unreliability.
And I was going to jump in there, Kendra. You had a good point because I'm thinking about Park Lotus Casino on Stockton, which is just a couple blocks up. They were closed, opened. They've reopened 3 times now, and they ended up closing within I don't know how many hours because somebody tested positive, and there they go again. So there are some instances within our corridors where this would be super beneficial. Rob, I'm sure you already talked about this with Frank. I'm sure that was a big one for him.
Yeah, Corey, you and I can talk more offline, but for casinos, I know that they use a lot of thermal imaging in their cameras, which are really expensive, and you have to be very technically skilled to operate thermal cameras. We actually have the ClearScan helmet that does that as well. Rob, I don't even know if you've seen this yet. It's like a thing out of RoboCop.
For Sean.
I gotta put this thing on for you guys. You guys are gonna get a kick out of this.
If I may, because I have a hard stop. I would just say that I'm very, very interested. Rob, to your point, Friday is right around the corner. In my mind, again, just as a first number, maybe your number is the right one, 500.
I think 500
is a little smaller, so he may use 20, 30, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I think that for the rest of us, certainly a little larger, that 75 range, I'm sure that we could do that. So if that, as a starting point for conversation, if everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Rob, is this going to pull money from any other? I mean, is this going to grab from a same source that we're all chasing for other things right now?
No, he let me know he's squirreled away some extra money. So that's not been attached or spoken for.
Well, that's good because again, if we clearly we didn't know about that secret money, but I think it's really critical and important that it goes to helping these businesses reopen.
Daryl always has secret money. It's a secret.
Rob, businesses in our, I'm sorry, Kendra, real quick, businesses in our district aren't going really after anything. It's just not great fits in the relief.
Yeah.
This does have potential, but given that, boy, it's been hard to even give stuff away sometimes. So I'll just communicate with you offline and we'll keep talking.
I would like to go over some strategy about implementation on this as well.
Yeah, that'd be
I think we need to build in some SOP guidance that we can give to a lot of our businesses. I think that, and there's a lot of education that goes with this. I think a lot of our businesses don't even know that, it's a workers' comp claim if somebody gets COVID-19. And so not only are you protecting the customers that come in, you're protecting your employees from those potential customers from a claim like that. So I think, having this tool is one thing, but as Jason has said repeatedly, having an SOP to back it up. And so I don't know if we can work with the city on what is a standard SOP that we can, have for our businesses and share that as part of it, because I think it's fine to have a tool, but you have to have the mechanism to back it up. So.
We should probably, and I'm happy to help with this, coordinate that with Dr. Bielenson, right? At the county, because on all the COVID stuff, the county's really running point in the region, and so I think, and which also makes it great because some of you are in the county anyway, so that's cool. What I'd like to do is maybe circulate some language for a joint proposal from all of you that you would all sign that we would then submit to the mayor's office. So maybe get that out to you either later today or, later today or early tomorrow morning, depending on if there's a tea time today. So, because it's so much social distance, I'm so lonely. I just want to stay on the Zoom call.
I'm sure you're just one person to a cart, Rob.
I know. Oh no, and there is only one person, and the way I play, you would never see me in the fairway. I'm just not anywhere near. I'm usually just walking around looking for golf balls. That's my golf game. So.
Well, at least you're getting your exercise in, Rob.
Yeah, well, in a golf cart. So.
There you go. That's why I play tennis. The balls are easier to find.
You know what? That's unless you go yard, you know, events, like Tom Hanks' bachelor party.
Oh my God.
So I have to run. I'm actually a little late on another call, but if we can, get follow up, and I agree 100% with Rafe. I think the SOP needs to be a part of this process for implementation as well. Absolutely.
Perfect. And I just got a text that said I'm supposed to be on another Zoom call.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Jason, thank